Hello, WFG. So we're just going to give it about 30 seconds or so to allow people to log in. We're very excited about today. You guys are all looking very sharp.
Already.
Oh, wow. Look at those participants climbing.
Wow, 1.4.
We're already getting some love.
Wow.
It's a lot of love.
I know. Look at that. So exciting.
So who can they see now?
Everybody can see us. Hello.
Good. All right, good. Good.
All right. So we'll probably start in like about 10 seconds. We'll officially start in 10 seconds.
The love is too much.
No. All right, it's 12:01. Here we go. Good afternoon, WFG. My name is Angelica Betancourt Haro, and I'm so excited to be part of the first No Limits, that's right, No Limits WFG webinar on prospecting. And so these webinars are going to give you a lot of how-tos, a lot of tangibles, a lot of role playing. These are things that you're actually going to be able to apply immediately to help you grow your business. And I'm just so excited to be sharing this virtual stage with some of WFG top leaders. And so they all rank in the top base shop recruiting. And the first individual that I want to introduce to all of you, his name is Pav Sandhu. If you can wave, Pav. And he is from Canada. So prior to WFG, he was a student studying accounting. And so he's only been in the business for 5 years. He's not married. He doesn't have any kids. And look at what he's done in 5 years. If you look up the leaders bulletin and you go all the way to the top under base shop recruiting, he is the #4 base shop recruiter in all of WFG with a little bit over 800 base shop recruits. And so the next individual that I want to introduce, he is in my hierarchy, so just very excited to introduce him and have him on here. His name is John Kim. He is from Southern California. He was actually studying nursing prior to being introduced to WFG. He started single, he didn't have any kids. And lucky for him, he met his better half in WFG. Thank God he's in the same hierarchy, right? And so him and his beautiful wife have 2 amazing kids right now, all under the age of 2, but they make no excuses and they're doing phenomenal things here in WFG. Last year, they ranked #3 for Tiger School in golf score, and they have a little bit over 700 base shop recruits in the last 12 months. So that's great. And so this next individual, I was trying to see like how do I edify her? What can be said about her? But she's a trailblazer. She's become a role model to many female leaders. She is allowing many brand new WFG agents believe that it doesn't have to take a decade to make your dreams come true in this business. So she really doesn't need a big introduction, but her name is Lillian Ako. She's an SCVC out of Dallas, Texas. And so she was born in Cameroon, West Africa. She has a nursing background, and she's only been in WFG for less than 3 years. And her stats are just phenomenal. And I'm not going to go through all of them because it would take probably the entire hour for us to go over all the amazing things that she's doing in this company. But I will share that in the little time that she's been here, she already has 157 life license agents in her base shop. and then a little bit over 500 in her entire hierarchy. She is the #1 net recruiter in the entire company, and she also has about 700 base shop recruits. So I'm just so excited to be sharing this virtual stage with them. And I will tell you, as independent leaders, we all have different ways of approaching people, different ways of talking to people. And today's webinar is about prospecting. One of the biggest questions that is asked from the field is, how do I meet people that I don't know yet? Somebody who's not my friend, somebody who's not my family, how do I prospect them? Well, these people have a lot of experience in that, because when interviewing them prior to this webinar, I was talking to Pav, and he said about 90% or so of my prospects are cold market. So guess what? You're going to learn a lot, right? And then talking to Lillian and John, they said about 50-50, is in the cold market. But before asking my first question to them, I want to emphasize that these leaders or WFG leaders, when they prospect in the cold market, whether is they intentionally go out there and prospect, whether is they prospect as they go, whether they're at a restaurant, at a store, they all prospect to get into their warm market. Because we're prospecting in the cold market, we don't know these individuals, right? But the intention and the outcome is to prospect these individuals that we don't know yet, so that eventually we can go into their warm market. So that being said, I will ask my first question. The first couple of questions is going to be asked to all 3 panelists, but I'm going to ask my first question, and maybe Pav, you can start off with this one. The biggest question that's asked on prospecting is, how do I meet people that I don't know yet? So people that are outside of your friends, people that are outside of your family. So Pav, if you can share with us, how do you find people outside of your friends and family?
Awesome. And Angelica, appreciate the kind introduction. And thank you for letting me being on this call to WFG and, all the attendees. And the first thing I would say before prospecting is, you got to be a big believer that World Financial Group is the best business opportunity compared to anything out there, right? So you got to wear that on your sleeve. And when you're prospecting, I don't truly go to prospect. I prospect as I go, right? So, you got to be looking, look sharp, smiling, have an attractive aura. And a few places, Angelica, where we can prospect outside your friends and family are like dinners, waitresses, waiters. If you go to the gym, you can talk to some people. If I know in WFG, we travel a lot. So airports, those kinds of things. So I really don't focus on going to prospect, just prospect as you go, communicate with people, gather contacts, and obviously follow up in the later future. You're muted, Angelica.
Sorry about that. So that's awesome. Thank you, Pav. Lillian, can you add to that?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Angelica, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you, WFG, for making us being here. And thank you to everybody that's here, taking time up to listen to us, right? So yes, when I have talked to people in my circle and I don't have anyone else to talk to, I have to go out of my comfort zone. I talk to people on Facebook. You just have to like connecting to people. Sometimes I tell people, just get addicted to connecting to people. So I talk to people when I go to restaurants. I talk to people when I go to stores. I just talk to people everywhere I meet them. So I figure out that Facebook is the biggest place. Restaurant and stores are the 3 main places that I talk to people that are out of my cycle.
Wow, there you go. 2 great answers right there. John, can you add to those 2 answers?
Absolutely. I want to just say again, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much, WFG. It's absolutely 100% an honor. But adding to that, it's pretty much, I learned in our hierarchy that a 3-foot rule, right? So anyone that's within 3 feet of you, if you're out and about or, you're doing just everyday tasks, you got to turn them into basically a friend. So turning strangers into friends. And, for anyone that is kind of fighting that aspect, I tell most people, like any other business, with all due respect, if you were supposed to get wealthy from the people that you knew, it would have happened by now. So it's developing the skill of, turning strangers into friends. And I think that it's a natural skill that we all have. We just got to get better at it again.
So 3 great answers: gyms, restaurants, Facebook, anybody that comes 3 feet from you. The reality is that there's not one right answer, and one thing might not feel comfortable to you. So do what feels comfortable to you, because Dawn might, feel comfortable talking to people at gyms or restaurants. Lillian might be comfortable talking to people at Facebook, and you might not, but it all starts with the intent of doing it. So great. Thank you for that. My second question, what are a few ways you open up a conversation or break the ice? At times, I think it's just the act of going and doing it. We're so afraid, we get nervous. What is it that we're going to say? So if you guys can help me and say maybe a few words or a few sentences that can help a brand new person, or maybe somebody who's been here a while, have a conversation with somebody, or an easy way to break the ice. So John, since you finished off, if you can start off with that one.
Absolutely. I would just say, a few ways is I always open with a compliment, and it's just, you want to find a connection with somebody and be genuinely curious and interested in them, so some pointers for men. Whenever I prospect men, I might compliment their shoes or their wardrobe. For women, I always bring up my wife, right? So I say, hey, that's a nice scarf. I was looking to get the same exact thing for my wife. If you don't mind me asking, where did you get that? And that is the intro to my conversation, breaking the ice.
That's great. And it's a good thing that you use your wife, because I think maybe sometimes they might think you're picking up on them. Hey, let's exchange numbers, right? So I think that's very important. And I too, when I'm out there, I use my husband and I, or my husband, or I can have you sit down with my husband. So that's awesome. All right. So next, Pav, can we have you go ahead, add to that?
So just to add on to what John mentioned, always start with a genuine and sincere compliment, right? If someone's actually wearing some nice clothes, say, hey man, you look like a really sharp guy. So I can give an example. A few days ago, I prospected a waiter at a restaurant, and he genuinely looked like a really sharp guy. And I'm like, man, you look like such a stud. You got to be worth more than working here. And not saying his job is bad or anything, but just to build that connection. Now the person feels uplifted, because a lot of times people aren't getting that feeling out there right now. And we connected and we exchanged Instagrams, and we've been connecting based on that. So just complimenting them, being polite, smiling, these little things that make you come off as attractive, and not just redundant and similar to a lot of other people out there.
Okay, awesome. Lillian, can you give us an actual example of a conversation or how you break the ice?
All right. So yes. So I know that sometimes, right, it's so difficult to connect to people, and some people don't know how to connect to people. But you have to intentionally always practice to connect to people. So yes, when I see somebody, there's a voice that always tell you, oh, don't talk to that person. Don't talk to that person. As soon as you see somebody, you want to talk to them, you start having this feeling, this voice that is telling you, oh, that person may reject you. So for me, as soon as I hear that voice in my mind, I just tell myself that, you know what, I must talk to that person. So I'm going to walk close to the person. I'm going to look at the person. I'm going to smile. So it's by nature that if you look at somebody and smile, that person is going to just automatically smile looking at you. And I'm going to ask them, where are you? Hello, how are you doing today? They're going to definitely respond, right? Where are you from? They're going to tell you where they're from. By the way, my name is Lillian, and this, and you live in this environment, maybe not. You just find a way to connect to them, and at the end, can we connect? When I have your number, they're definitely going to give you their number. Then when they give me their number, I just reach them by, then I save it in my phone and make sure that I call them back to make sure the number is going through. Then when I get home, I then plan a day after to reach out to them. So smile and look at your prospect, ask them how they're doing, ask them where they're from, and talk a little bit about yourself, and then you go from there. Just connect with them and take their numbers. That is it from the beginning.
That's awesome. A smile goes a long ways. It's just, and sometimes you just got to do it, even though if you're afraid to get the number, but just start practicing, going up to people, smiling, giving them a sincere compliment. You can't go up to somebody who maybe is walking out of the gym and, oh, you look sharp. What do you do? Maybe you compliment like, man, I love your shoes. Are those Nikes? Are they Adidas? What kind of shoes? So it's just simple. You look at something and genuinely connect with them whether it's a purse, whether it's a shoes, whether it's maybe their suit or something that they have, or maybe a car that they're driving, whatever it is, just be very sincere. And I promise you that you being sincere, it can take you very far. So now let me kind of get into this right here. I know a lot of times we're asked, and many of us, answer this differently, and I would like to see the way you guys answer it. So I'm going to go with Lillian since you finished up. Lillian, when somebody asks you, what do you do? How do you answer that question?
Yes, so definitely, right? Sometimes many of them, they want to know what you're doing at the time you meet them. So what I tell them is that I belong to this great company that has impressed me really, really much. And this company is helping the middle class and the poor people secure a great financial future. And this company can help you plan for the days ahead, plan for your financial future, and make sure that you plan for the unforeseen in case something was going to happen to you. So I just let them know that this company will help them plan and secure a great financial future.
Wow, that's awesome. I love it. Thank you. What about you, John? When somebody asks you, what do you do? How do you answer that?
So I just want to put out a tip that, the main emphasis in everything that we do is closing. So the objection of prospecting someone is getting their name and number so that way you can book another meeting. But, in a nutshell, I tell people, I'm in charge of expansion for a financial firm. We help individuals and businesses save and make money. In a nutshell, we're bringing Wall Street to the Main Street. And would you agree that everyone needs that and wants that? Yes. All right. Let's exchange information. So that's what I generally say.
Where do I sign up? I love that. Hey, let me just remind all of you guys that this is being recorded. So I'm excited to even go back and hear the recording and take some notes. You're never too big to continue to grow your business. And so I love that I'm here with all of you. So Pav, what about you? When somebody asks, what do you do? How do you answer that?
Myself, I just say I'm a financial professional. And, as John mentioned, the objective is to close. So I'll, put the question back on them, but hey, what do you do? And then, secondly, during the conversation, they may ask like, but hey, what do you actually do? And then I just refer to a little bit of credibility. And I say, I'm a licensed financial professional. I represent companies like IA, Equitable, RBC, and we're in charge of their marketing. But bottom line, let's sit down and connect and go from there. So just offer them a little bit of credibility, but get back on the close so that you can get their number and set up an appointment.
Awesome. So let me ask you again. So, and then just kind of role play. Pav, so what do you do?
So Angelica, you heard of companies like RBC, IA, and Equitable Life?
Yeah, I have.
Nice. We're in charge of their marketing. But bottom line, it's a lot to talk about over here. How about we, sit down and connect? I'll grab your number.
I like it.
Yeah. And in America, you can use other companies like Nationwide, Pacific Life, Transamerica, whatever. It just gives quick credibility and it allows you to stay on the line and get their number and connect up.
Great, phenomenal. Isn't this awesome? Well, I know I'm enjoying it. So my next question, Pav, I'm going to have you start off with this. What has been a great question or comment that you tell prospects to really entice them to meet with you?
So for myself, once again, it's just like being genuine and, telling them kind of what you mentioned, if they're coming out of a gym, not saying you dress sharp. But, I truly believe that this business model can really bring out the best in people. So I try to talk a lot about self-worth, like, hey, man, I see a lot of value in you. How about we sit down and connect? And once again, if you use the uplifting higher law languages, you will bring out the best in people and really entice them or encourage them to sit down and connect with you and obviously follow up and all those kinds of things as well.
Awesome. John, what about you?
So I would just bring up, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. But, one of the things that I generally say that if anyone gives me pushback or, has additional questions, I generally say, you know what, if the money was right and it fit into your schedule while having fulfillment, is that a conversation worth having? Yes, let's exchange information. I got to run, but that's generally what I say. If the money was right and it fit into your schedule while having fulfillment, is that a conversation worth having?
Yes, it is. Great. What about you, Lillian?
Oh, yes. So some sometimes when you meet some prospect, you're trying to bring them to your Zoom and they're hesitant, they don't want to come. So I ask questions like I just tell them, I know that we all work so hard in these countries, but in this country, but sometimes we forget to plan for the rainy days. Have you thought about the day that you're not able to go to work? What plans do you have for your future? Just in case you get critically ill and you're needing like long-term care services. What plans do you have for your future, just in case you get critically ill and you need like long-term care services? At that point, they start thinking, because every one of us, right, we just believe that we're so strong, we're going to work every day, but we don't remember that one day we may not be able to go to work. What happened if we need these long-term care services? So when I ask them this question, they start to think and they get interested to come to my Zoom and listen more.
That's a lot of passion and conviction right there. And you realize she's explaining two things right here. When she's saying that to her brand new prospects, she's explaining not only the amazing products that we offer, but she's also explaining the business opportunity. If something were to happen to you, what product do you have? WFG, the opportunity is the product too, right? So that's phenomenal. I love it. Thank you very much. And so my next question is going to be for Pav and John. Pav, I'll have you start it off. What is one of the most common objections you get from a prospect, and how do you overcome it? So if you can say maybe a few of them. We're running good on time, so I'm very excited about that. So what are the most common objections you get from a prospect, and how do you overcome it?
I would say, Angelica, the most common one is time commitment. In this business, when you're meeting with your friends and family, as long as you make it seem important to you, they will meet you. But now keep in mind, when you're prospecting people in the cold and maybe warm, cold market, they don't really care if it's important to you, right? So as long as you're following up, one really important way that, I overcome the objection of time is I'll say, hey, Angelica, I know you're super busy and I don't want to waste your time. I'm super busy as well. I don't want to waste my time, but let's just set up a time that works for both of us mutually. I'll show you what I do, and worst case scenario, you can refer me some people down the road and maybe make some extra money as well. So that's a really good one I found. And then if they still don't meet, just keep on following up, right? My rule is just follow up until you hear no, and that usually doesn't even happen at the end of the day.
Wow, that's awesome. John, what about you? What are some of the common objections that you hear, and how do you overcome them?
Absolutely. And one of the things that I teach my group is that, when you get an objection, always one thing to remember is you got to be the one that is controlling the conversation. And how you do that is asking questions. So the one that's always asking questions is always in control of the conversation. So one of the biggest objections that we get is this commission, or how's the pay structure like? And, when generally someone asks me that, I ask, how do you feel about commission? Are you familiar with financial services? And I wait for their answer. If they give me an answer that I'm not looking for, I say, well, Angelica, it's based on performance. And the reason why it's based on performance is it wouldn't make sense to pay you an hourly or a salary because we pay too much. My question would be, is that a deal breaker for you?
I want to get paid a lot. If I perform, I definitely want to get paid a lot, right? And so the reality is that sometimes these objections don't necessarily mean something negative. I think that when I first got started and, I got an objection like, oh, is this sales? I immediately thought that they were against sales and they didn't want to be part of sales. But selling through curiosity teaches you how to ask a whole bunch of questions to really get deep down to what the real objection is. So just answer it sincerely. I think that if you go back to this recording, it's going to help you a lot with the words and the confidence of you being able to build your business. And so now my next question is for Lillian. So Lillian, do you do the same recruiting presentation for every single profession? Because I know that obviously there's people that you meet, at a retail store. There's people that you meet that maybe have the same background as you, doctors, lawyers, attorneys. So do you offer the same presentation to every single individual, or do you alter it?
So the answer is yes, right? But the tune and the words that you're using may be different, but the goal is you have to provide education. What we do, we just provide education. So what I want to really say is that you come here, you're a new agent, or you're already here, you have to study and learn and attend training and talk to your mentors, your upline, and understand exactly what we do so that when you are on your presentation, you're able to present and close that client, because the goal is that you should give the information and that client should be able to make an informed decision. So yes, I'm going to do the same presentation. I just have to tune myself depending on who I'm talking to. So when you master what you're doing, right, then you'll be able to close those clients. I still remember this one day. I'm not an accountant, I'm just a nurse. And I had this guy, he's an ex-banker, he has MBA, he's coming to my Zoom. And also you need to understand the kind of person you want to present to before sitting down. So this guy was coming, I got dread because I already knew that he kind of knew better than I do, but I mastered the presentation. So when he came to my Zoom, I was ready for him. I was well dressed, smiling on the Zoom, looking good. And I sat there with him and he told me he only had 20 minutes for me, but we sat there for about 3 hours. He picked a pen, he started writing and asking questions because of the presentation. So the point is for you to know who you're talking to and try to tune what you're saying according to the person you're talking to and know them in advance. And it's going to help you close them. So the answer is yes, it is the same presentation, but I tune everything depending on who I'm talking to.
Wow, that's so key. So the reality is it's the same presentation because it's the same opportunity. You're not offering a different opportunity to a doctor than you are to the person that, you maybe met working at a retail store or maybe a single mom, but there are words that you alter. So I always recommend just do your homework. If you prospected somebody that is in a field that you don't know a lot of, well, go do your homework. Find out what the pros of that field is. Find out what the negativity of that field is. So therefore, you come to your presentation or to your Zoom appointment with your prospect prepared, and you just add some additional words that maybe they can relate to, but it's the same presentation because it is the same opportunity. So that's awesome. Thank you. Now, my next question is for John. John, what have you found to be the most effective way of prospecting? Where would you say you get your most prospects from?
I would say it's 40% cold and 60% warm and hot. Cold market prospecting is, in long story short, people are everywhere. And again, going back to turning strangers into friends, but you can always ask for referrals, like the immediate, we call it a power base. Who are the most influential people in your life? And you ask them very specific questions. In the last 6 months, did you meet anyone new? Did you meet anyone that's ambitious? Oh, someone's always complaining about their job. Did you meet a new hobby group? Or, another way that we do it is tap rooting. So I teach my people, you got to go cold and then immediately learn how to taproot so that way you can stay in a warm and hot market.
Wow, that's awesome. So Pav, let me have you add to this. It kind of has to do a little bit with the same, but how do you prospect? So Pav, I know you're young, right? You have one of the top base shop recruiting in the entire company. And so I'm assuming that not everybody you prospect and recruit is your same age group, right? And so a question that is always asked, especially when somebody gets started with WFG, is, well, how do I prospect somebody who's more successful than me right now, right? Or maybe who has more, business experience than me. So can you tell us, I know that we spoke a little bit about this, but can you tell us, how do you prospect or how do you approach somebody who is more successful than you that you want to introduce into the business?
Awesome. I think that's a great question. And I would say that first thing is, for anyone on this call, even when the word prospect comes, I feel like a lot of people attach it to instant result, right? So prospecting can be like, it's like kind of farming. You're just planting seeds. And especially when someone's more successful than you, put yourself in their shoes. Let's say if they've built a business, they're successful, maybe they already have a big house, all these kinds of things. Those people, first of all, are very busy, right? And not busy as in doing random things, but more productive, right? They value their time. And secondly, they're very, very cautious of who they allow into their circle, right? So myself, I have some clients who are higher net worth, even business partners. The biggest thing is time. because most of the time these people are just watching you. They're seeing what you do on a daily basis or a weekly or monthly basis. Because at the end of the day, you know, if you put yourself in someone's shoes who's really wealthy, they would want to be coached by somebody with great habits and disciplines. They would want their money to be, you know, managed or dealt with someone who's very professional, super sharp, great discipline, all these kinds of things. And all of those things take time. It takes time to build discipline and great habits. So those people are usually just watching you on what you're doing on a daily basis. Are you following up? And quite frankly, prospecting someone way more successful than you, it could even take years, right? It could even take years. Some clients that I've had who are very, very successful business owner, it took me years to prospect them, and have them finally say, wow, like this guy's actually serious and he's super excited about what he does. So that would be my my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and the reality is, it's so true. Sometimes we tie prospecting to immediate results, and some of these prospects, you prospect them, and we're going to go into some role playing in a little bit, but you prospect them and you don't necessarily tell them immediately about the business opportunity. You prospect them and you start becoming their friend and you start friendship farming, right? But some of these people that might be more successful than you might not have the ability to be able to control their time the way you do here, like here in WFG. So I've also said that people are watching. They're going to start watching you. Maybe, you know, you start going to network gatherings together, family gatherings together, you start associating them with them at different events, and you conversate, and they're just watching, and they're watching. And maybe if you have an Instagram or social media, you know, they're constantly on there seeing what you're all about. And the reality is, what really attracts them at the end of the day is like, man, you know, Pav is out here helping and impacting and changing people's lives, you know, and he has this great life. He's traveling to Hawaii, you know, he's traveling with a company. Like, wait a minute, you know, I'm working, you know, 10, 12 hours a day. I don't get to spend time with my kids. I don't get to go to my kids' sporting events. I don't have control of my time. You have to remember that sometimes people, you know, they might make money, but successful, you know, inside, they probably don't feel fulfilled because they don't have that quality of time that this business allows you to have. So it's not all about the money that they make. It's about the quality of time and the time that they are given to be able to spend this money with their loved ones and to continue to build wealth. So that's awesome. Last question before we go into our role playing. So Lillian, when you prospect people and you sit down with them and you set up a Zoom with them, how often, what percentage of the time is it that they get started immediately? Or do the majority of your people have a follow-up? You know, maybe you meet with them 2 or 3 times and then they get started.
Yes, great question, Angelica. So we have great products that everyone needs, and we have a great opportunity here that everyone can have a stream of income. But the truth is that many people are out there that have no clue about this. There are many people out there that they want something like that, but they don't know that it's here. So when I meet prospect, when I'm talking to them, my goal is to close them in one sitting. So I close most of them, like let's say 50% in one sitting. You know why? Because when they go out there and talk to some other people, there are many dream killers out there that they're going to tell them, oh, you know what, don't do that, that's not okay. But then if you were able to close them, let's say you submit an application for them, it's just an application, right? By the time the application go through the process, you're going to get them again, and they already have in their mind that they have an application. You get them the second time, you're giving them education. And when the application is approved, you get them on the Zoom again, you show them the benefit, and they're happy about it. But there's some people that you cannot close them in one sitting. It can be 2, it can be 3. Some of them don't have enough time. Some of them are skeptical, and it's okay. So it's not like you have to close everybody, but I do my best to close most of my client, my prospect, in one sitting. So as of now, it's 50-50.
Awesome. I love it. You know, what she said too is the goal obviously is to recruit them immediately, right? Because there is a lot on the internet. Let's be truthful. There's stuff on the internet. There's family members, you know, that maybe are not pro entrepreneurship or you starting your own business. So the minute you get them signed up and enrolled and sold into the vision and the business opportunity, the quicker they can start learning about the products and how amazing they are, and they're not just hearing it from other people. Because I remember when I first got started, you know, I'm going to say this. My brother's like, oh, did you know I read all of this on the internet? And this is, I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you talking about? And I already had been in the business for about 2 weeks. So I already knew that the companies that we represented were A-rated companies. I knew that companies like that weren't going to allow a company like WFG to represent them if we weren't, you know, real. And so it's so important, and it's not a hard close. You're doing something good for them. You're offering them an opportunity. You're offering them the ability to possibly change their life forever, like every single one of our lives has been changed. So you guys have all been so great. So now into the exciting part, right? What everybody wants to hear. They want to hear some role playing. So I'm gonna role play with each one of you guys, and maybe I'll start off with Pav. So I'm gonna give you a little scenario, and then I want you to be able to prospect me. So how would you prospect me, Pav? If, let's just say I was at Target, I'm a cashier, I work there. And maybe I'm in my mid 30, 40. So let's just say that you already getting ready to check out, you stand in my line and I'm checking out your items, and let's go ahead and role play how you would get my name and number.
Awesome. So assuming I can see your name tag there, I'd say, hey, is it Angelica?
Yeah,
Awesome. Angelica, do you work here full time as a cashier? Or?
I do. Yes.
That's awesome. How is it? Do you like it or you love it?
Well, I don't know that I love it, but yeah, I like it. You know, people are friendly.
That's awesome. You're just doing it for the time being. Are you in school or you're working full time or?
No, I'm working full time.
That's awesome. The reason why, Angelica, I asked, I'm in financial services and we're expanding a ton right here. And you know, you seem like a very solid individual. And I want to ask you, when it comes to making money, do you keep your options open?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Who
Perfect.
wouldn't,
Awesome.
right?
Definitely. Yeah. So it's a lot to go over on here, but how about I grab your number and maybe we'll find a time to connect later this week.
What is it? What did you say your name was?
Pav? It was Pav.
So what is it, Pav?
So you know companies like TD, IA, Equitable Life in Canada?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're in charge of their marketing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. The bottom line, it's a lot to go over on here. I know you're working and I'm about to head out as well. I'll grab your number and maybe we'll chat later this week.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So yeah, that's usually what I would say. And it works about like 70% of the time.
Cool. And so I was also talking to Pav when we were doing our run through, and he says, right, Pav, if somebody's asking you too many questions, so then like, let's just say I'm throwing so many objections at you. What?
I just let it go then, to be honest, because always remember, everybody, you can never say the right thing to the wrong person, right? So some people, when you're prospecting, you're not going to get 100% of the prospects. If you get their number, you're not going to meet 100% of the people, and you need to be okay with that. And if you look at John, Lillian, and Angelica, myself, we understand that it's all about the law of averages.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So next, that was great. And I know I'm putting you guys on the spot here. So let me see. I'll have Lillian. I'll go with you, Lillian. So let's just say that because I heard you say a story like this before on one of my elite trainings with my team. Let's just say that we meet at Walmart. I'm there, you know, shopping around, and I'm in the clothing department. So go ahead, prospect me.
All right, so I see you and I know in my mind that I have to talk to you, right? So I come close to you, smiling, looking at you. I'm like, oh my, not oh my God. How are you doing today? Definitely. You're okay.
Oh, good, thank you. How are
All
you?
right, I'm okay. I love your hair. It looks so pretty.
Oh, thank you.
Where are you from?
I'm from Nigeria.
Wow, you're from Nigeria. Oh my goodness, I'm from Cameroon. I have a lot of friends from Nigeria. Wow. What part do you live around here?
One of those cities there. Oh, well,
Oh.
here, where do I live? So I live about two miles away from here.
Yes, I live around here too. So maybe I know you're busy right now. Maybe we should connect and talk later. I would like to connect with you. Can I please have your number?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I would love it.
All right, so I take my phone and I type in the number and I text you and make sure everything is working.
Awesome. Hey, remember, a smile goes a long ways. How'd you
Yes.
like that? That was great. All right, Don, let's have you role play a scenario. So we did 2 retail stores. Let's just say that we meet at a restaurant. I'm a server at a restaurant. You're there with your family. I already took your guys' order. Maybe I already brought your guys' waters. And then maybe I'm coming back and I'm giving you guys I'm serving your salads, right? So I set down your salads, and how are you going to prospect me?
Say, it's Angelica, right?
Yes.
Hey, Angelica, I just want to let you know, my wife and I have been coming here for a while, and I've got to say that you've given us the best service. Have you been working here for a while, or are you new?
No, I've been working here on and off for a few years.
Okay, and how do you like it?
Oh, it pays the bills.
Pays the bills? Yeah. The reason why I ask is because my firm's rapidly expanding, and I think that someone like yourself can really, really excel within my company. I just got to ask, do you keep your options open, your career options open?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that anybody wants to be here a long time.
Awesome. Yeah, and I just want to let you know that, what I do is I'm in financial services. In a nutshell, we help people and families and businesses. We help them make and save money. Long story short, we're bringing Wall Street to the main street. I mean, everyone wants that. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I know I do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Angelica, listen, I promised my wife a quiet dinner, just us and the kids, but let's do this. Let's exchange information so that way I can give you a call tomorrow and see if it's a fit on both ends. Does it sound good?
Yeah. I would love
Wonderful.
it. Thank you. Oh my
And
God.
then I pull out my phone and then I call, I get your number and I call it right in front of you to make sure that that's a correct number there.
Awesome. See, it's that simple, right? Well, not exactly. They have some practice, but you need a practice. And just like from everything that has been asked to them, what are some icebreakers? What are just simple things that you can say to somebody? And the reality is, it's not going to get easy until you start doing it. And I'll tell you, for me, what, made it easy is just doing it. And sometimes I would just go up to somebody and start talking to them. And in my head, I said, I'm not going to get their number. I just want to start talking to them so I can, get over that fear. And I'll share something really funny with you guys with one of my first prospecting experiences. So I had a big warm market. So I didn't have to prospect a whole lot at the very beginning. Actually, I didn't have to prospect at all at the very beginning. I would prospect my family and my friends and people I already knew, right? And so when I started dating my husband, Guillermo Haro, I would come visit him here in Southern California. I lived in Northern California, and I remember we would be going to like a bank, and then we would be walking outside of the bank and he would tell me, go get that person's name and number. She looked sharp. I'm like, who, like, my heart would drop. I'm like, what? He goes, go get her name and number. She looked sharp. I'm like, you're crazy. You go get her name and number. And he goes, you're not going to get back into the car until you go get her name and number. I'm like, yeah, right. You're just kidding, right? So I'm like trying to open up the handle, and he's not letting me in the car. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then he goes, I can't believe you're so afraid to go get her number. Just go get her number. And so, sure enough, I go up to her, I'm like, oh, do you work here? Like, I didn't know what to say, I was so afraid to go. And I don't even know why, to go talk to a stranger. I said, like, oh, do you work around here? She goes, oh yeah, I work, I'm actually at the other bank, Coldwell Banker, she goes, I work at the other bank. Oh, how long have you been working there? And so I ended up getting her number. I don't know how, but that built some confidence in me. And let me tell you, like, now I don't fear talking to anybody, but because it's taken years of experience. I think that if you have the belief inside of you that you really can change somebody's life forever, then it will become a lot easier. And that's what Guillermo started telling me. You got to think and you got to believe that, you know what, I'm going to go get that person's name and number because I'm about to change that person's life. That's really what you got to believe. So now let's go into our second role playing. And so I want to role play the follow-up call. So how would you call me after you prospected me, maybe the day after, the day before? Take me through the process. What is it that you say to actually book that Zoom appointment? So I'll go ahead and start off with Lillian. So how would you call me back after you got my name and number?
All right. So thank you so much. Great question. So one thing about me is that I just get addicted to talking to people. I always like to connect to people. I have connected to so many people that I even forget to talk to them. Right now, I have numbers on my phone that sometimes when I connect with them, I'm like, why did I even connect with this person? But when I see them, if I don't connect with them, I just feel like there's something's not right. So when I connect with them and I have their numbers, right? Because my goal, I don't talk about a business when I meet them in the beginning. So when I come home, I actually don't make calls. I don't call them. I just text them. I text them. Like, for example, I can say, hey, hi, Tina. It was nice meeting you at the store yesterday. This is Lillian. How are you doing today? That is it in the beginning. Then definitely they're going to come back the same day or the next day and respond. Say, hey, Lillian, it was nice meeting you. Then I ask them, I hope you're doing okay. Then they'll respond to me again. So it's like 2-3 discussions. Then the third time, then I want to say to them, by the way, there is something that I really want to share with you. So I found out about this platform that has impressed me so much that this platform is helping so many families secure their financial future. So I really want to share with you. When are you available for like 30 minutes? Let's get on Zoom so I can talk to you about it. So in that case, they're able to. So it's like 50-50, 50% of them get on my Zoom.
Wow. See, there's not only a phone call. And what I love about that, Lillian, is that I think it takes the pressure away from the brand new person. So if you're teaching your team how to do this, how to prospect and how to get names and numbers, or even their warm market, just sending them that text message, I think takes a lot of pressure away from the nervousness, because they're not going to hear you being nervous. I think I shared with you guys, Lillian, that I was training my brand new recruit. I was also new in the business, and my SMD at the time said, hey, you need to call her top 25 list with her. I'm like, what do you mean call the top 25 list with her? And I remember calling that person. It was the first person on her top 25 list. And I called, and the potential client said, hello. And I was just like, oh, hello. And they kept saying hello. And I told my new recruit, I said, oh, I don't think she can hear me. I think the reception is bad. Boom, I hang up, I gather my thoughts, I breathe really deep, and I'm like, okay, now let me call them back. So, hey, it doesn't always have to be a phone call. And listen, you can study Lillian's numbers on the Leaders Bulletin. So what she's doing is working as well. So I love that. Thank you. John, let's have you share your follow-up call to me.
All right, wonderful. So I would call you, ring, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, is this Angelica?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Angelica, this is John. We met at your work yesterday. How are you doing?
Oh, good, John. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for asking. Listen, from our conversation yesterday, I mentioned that, my company is rapidly expanding and growing, and I just wanted to tell you more. I certainly don't want to waste your time, and I don't want to waste mine. So let's take a minute. I'll tell you a little bit more about what we're looking for and who we're looking for. Sound good?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Wonderful. So like I mentioned, what we do in a nutshell is we help educate and serve families and individuals and businesses on finance. I know it's a little bit different from what you've done in the past, but here's who we're looking for. We're looking for someone who's passionate about helping individuals, especially the underserved, someone that's ambitious, open to learn about finance and business, and you can even do it at a part-time basis. The ideal candidate is entrepreneurial minded, as we don't do a punch in and punch out type scheduling. And at the same time, the compensation is unlimited because it's based on performance. And we help every individual start from the ground up. Is this something that sounds like it's a fit on your end, Angelica?
My goodness, yes, it's something new, different, but yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, Angelica, we're screening through other candidates at the moment, but I'll tell you what, what's your availability to come on down to my office either tomorrow or Friday?
I would say tomorrow works better than Friday.
Perfect. Were you thinking afternoon time or evening time?
Well, I work in the evenings at the restaurant, so I would say afternoon.
Perfect. How's 12 sound? I got an opening here.
Okay, yeah, 12 o'clock. Where's your office at, or is it going to be on Zoom?
Let me give you the address so we can do either one. Which one works better for you?
I would say probably Zoom would work better for me.
Great. What's your best email? And then I will get your email. I'll send you a link, and then I confirm you, and we go from there.
Perfect. Sign me up, both Lillian and John. All right, Pam, go ahead. What's your call back to me?
So in between the time of getting the number and calling, I would also text as well and just say, hey, it was nice connecting with you, whatever. And then I would call and say, hey, is this Angelica?
Yeah,
Hey, Angelica, how are you? It's Pav. How's your day going so far?
I'm good, Pat. Thank you.
That's awesome. You remember we chatted at Target the other day?
Oh, I was trying to think, like, who is this calling me? Yes, I remember you now.
That's awesome. Cool, cool. How was your day going so far? Busy or just kind of taking it easy?
It's been a little busy, but it's good.
That's awesome. But yeah, I was just following up from that day. I feel like, you had some great customer service and, you're worth way more than working as a Target cashier. What's a good time later this week? We can connect up either Saturday or Sunday, and I can show you a little bit more about what we do.
Okay, weekends are a little tough for me. Do you have something available like during the week in the mornings?
Yeah, for sure. I'm super busy this weekend. And when I start making my schedule for next week, maybe I'll shoot you a text next Monday or I'll call you and then we could plan something out.
Take it away. That's awesome.
sounds
I
good.
love it.
Awesome. And then just follow up. And eventually you just have a big sheet of follow up. So you can just, go personally wide and go into the hot market from that over and over again. I do a lot of take it away from people. And there's
Yeah.
some people I'll recruit like 8 months after I meet them at like a hotel or like a airport or something like that.
Wow, that's awesome. See, if you guys notice, every single one of them has a lot of similarities, but it's to their own style as well. So just remember, there's no one right way of doing it. But if you just study the words and you're confident in the business and how to talk about it, I think if you say, like Pav said earlier, or I don't know if it was John, but you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. We're obviously always looking for people that are looking for us. And sometimes they don't know that they're looking for us. So we have to go out there and not be selfish and offer them the business opportunity. Because remember, somebody put you on their prospect list. Somebody prospected you. Somebody put you on a top 25 list. Somebody gave you the opportunity to be here today. And this has changed your life. So we can't be selfish. We got to go out there and continue to impact other people's lives. So I want to close out by asking my last question to every single one, to all three of you. What is your system to duplicate prospecting and recruiting for your team? So John, if you can start off with that. So what is it that you do with your team to be able to duplicate this? Obviously, not only are all three of you guys really good at it personally, but your teams are good at it because your recruiting numbers reflect it on the Leaders Bulletin.
Absolutely. And, I'm reading some of the questions on the chat. I'm really glad. And for those of you on this call, wouldn't you agree that, it's been a blessing WFG throwing this event so that way you can better grow your business? Some of the things that I would tell you and what our organization personally does is, not everyone's going to do really well if we just throw them into the water, right? So I remember going on that story, and Angelica G actually did that to me early in my career as well. He's like, hey, John Kim, that guy looks super sharp. You're Asian, he's Asian, go get his number. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I had to go get the number. I did it, but I freaked out too. Not everyone's going to do really well to that approach. So what I found in our organization is if someone is freaking out a little bit, what I would do is I would say, hey, let's jump on a Zoom. I'm going to call this person for you right in front of you. And then we're going to role play after. Okay. And then I'm going to throw some objections. And then at the same time, if they're a little bit more seasoned, I'm going to have them call somebody or invite somebody, and I'm going to watch them and see how maybe we can critique or improve it. So just know that everyone on this call, everyone, if you feel that, your trainer or your SMD is really great at objection handling or prospecting, just know they probably messed up a lot of times. But just go back to your question. It's practicing with the individual, showing them right in front of them, and then listening to them do the same exact thing that you just showed them. Angelica.
Duplication right there. That's awesome. What about you, Lillian?
Yes, so definitely I try my best to duplicate, right? So I learned that if I have to make many Lillian out there in my team, the team is going to grow better. So I train my team one-on-one. The licensed agent one-on-one, and we also do general training together. And I intentionally teach them how to prospect. As one of my SMD recently told me, so Lillian, I recruited 2 people, I met them at this place. I said, how did you do? He said, remember that day we went to this place. So I went to the store with her And I told her, watch, I'm going to prospect that person. And I walked to the person. She was scared. I walked to the person. I prospected the person. I took the number and she saw me and she built some confidence. I've done that to a couple of my agents and they watched me do it. And they found that it was so easy for me to connect with them. It was nothing stressful. And they also build confidence to do it. So I teach my agent how to prospect and also teach them how to overcome objections. Because remember, when you go out there, you're trying to prospect somebody, you're going to have some objections. They're going to reject you sometime. They're not going to believe you. They're going to think that you're a scammer, right? So I teach them that these are expected. And therefore, when you see them, don't feel frustrated, don't feel rejected. You know, these people, they don't know what we're talking about. I wish they knew. So I teach them and I prepare their mind in advance so that by the time you go out there, you're not going to come back to me and say, hey, Lillian, I was trying to prospect this person and I was rejected. It's expected. You're going to have some people that are going to reject you. Not everyone's going to believe you. So all of this, everything I do, I train my agent how to do it so they can be able to go out there and also grow their business and also change their lives.
Absolutely, I agree. And she said something very key. You know, initially she meets with them one-on-one because remember, we all learn differently. So she meets with them one-on-one, she role plays with them, she does overcoming objections, she's teaching them the words, and then she also does it in a group setting. Then they also see her do it, right? So it's part of the system, right? When you're taking people out in the field doing KTPs, right? Or not KTPs anymore, Zoom, right? We do Zoom appointments, they're seeing you close. And so, wow, they're learning real objections. You're not like, what if they ask me this? They're actual real objections. So it'd be awesome for you to also make your personal phone calls. Let's just say you got a whole bunch of different prospects and you do a Zoom with your team and they're hearing you making these phone calls, right? They're hearing you overcome real objections of your brand new prospect that you got. So I always highly recommend that you either get really close to your leader, somebody who's been doing it for a while, have them sit down with you, have them teach you the words, have them, you know, do some role playing with you, but also maybe kind of listen in to when they're making calls. And if you're a leader, you want to make sure that you're always leading by example because your team is watching. Your team is watching and they want to be able to duplicate you. So make sure that you're doing some great things and you're leading by example. So Pav, I'll have you close it out with that question.
Yeah, so, similar to what John and Lillian said as well, I do a lot of trainings, one-on-ones, group settings, but for myself, it really comes with challenging people, I feel like. So how G challenged you, he said, hey, I'm not letting you in the car. I'm gonna tell you to prospect. So I do a lot of that. I'll prospect people in front of, a new teammate or someone. And whether I get rejected or I get the number, if I get the number, I'll say, man, it's that easy. If I get rejected, I'll say, who cares, man? There's a million people out there. And that way, when they're alone and they start prospecting, they'll just think back to that same time that they're with me. And if they get the number, they'll be like, that's awesome. If they don't get the number, they'll be like, hey, Pav gets rejected too. He's where he is. And I got rejected as well. So it doesn't matter. So always remember, for everyone on this call, you are the leader, right? You are the leader. You're the person that people look up to. So it doesn't matter if you're at 100K cash flow or 10 million. If you go and show people, do it first style, I think that's probably the best style of leadership, is doing it first, doing the dirty work and having people see. And I'll tell a funny story. Angelica, back in the day, about 4 or 5 years ago when we started, we're all like 20, 21, 22 years old. We sucked at the business. Nobody took us seriously because we were so broke and totally the wrong market. So what we used to do, we used to get in a car and go to gas stations around the city. And I was so nervous and shy that I was so scared to prospect people. I would literally get out of the car, fake it that I prospected somebody, and get back in and say, sorry guys, he said no. Right? So if that person can today on this call can, I'm not even the best at prospecting, but if I can teach you a little bit of gold on prospecting from being that guy who was lying to his team about getting rejected, you can do anything in this world today. Right?
Yeah, so wow, that's awesome. I love hearing stories like that because people see this. They see, and we're not a finished product, but they see, who we are today with years of experience. I know, Pav, you've only been here 5 years. Lillian, you've been here a little less than 3 years. But the reality is, it takes practice and you having to practice it. I constantly will call my agent and say, hey, invite me to a BPM. Hey, invite me to the business opportunity. Sell me the dream. I got this from Rich Dolly. He had it in his, in his audios about, just making these phone calls. I know Guillermo's done it to John. I know Guillermo's done it to me. I remember on a date, I used to be on a date with Guillermo. We would be driving to a restaurant. We were very new in our relationship. And he would say, call me, invite me to a BPM. I'm like, you're crazy. We're in the car. He goes, call me, invite me to a BPM. I think he was trying to figure out, how good I was at the business before he decided to marry me or not. But listen, it's been phenomenal. I love this part of the No Limits webinar series because we're bringing you a lot of tangibles. We're bringing you a lot of nuggets, a lot of role playing, a lot of how-tos. This stuff that you can really just after today apply. And the good thing about this, that these are recorded within 24 hours, you'll be able to get this recording off of the training center. But no matter how much you learn, no matter how little or how long you've been in the business, the important thing is for you to go out there and apply it. It is pointless for you to attend these webinars, for you to attend your VPNs, for you to attend convention or big events and take these phenomenal notes and get inspired and moved, and you'll cry and get so emotional with some of these leaders. It is pointless to do all of that if you're not going to go do anything with what we've just taught you or what is being taught to you, in your environment. So just go out there and do it. Take that leap of faith. It's not going to be comfortable, but remember, nothing big grows inside your comfort zone. So you got to get uncomfortable to grow. So thank you guys for joining us. It's been awesome. Have a blessed day.